Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Texas Longhorns Live 81. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. And we have an action-packed show for you tonight because, honestly, a lot of stuff has happened. The transfer portal is opening up for teams that did not make the playoff. That does include the Texas Longhorns. And we might as well just jump into this first one because we've already had a couple guys leave. So let's just jump into it. Most likely transfers from Texas. That means guys on the Texas roster that will transfer to somewhere else. You know, making this list today, I would have put CJ Baxter on this list, who did transfer.
Yep.
Was it unexpected that he was the first guy to jump in? Absolutely. Not surprised by Trey Owens. I was not going to have him on the list because I think that was just a pure obvious one for most people that he was going to leave Texas, especially with Diabell coming in. So let's start out, Gerald. Number 5. It's top 5. So who is your 5th guy on the Texas roster that you could see transferring?
Yeah, a guy that I don't know if I have him at 5 because I don't think he's going to transfer, but a guy like Jordan Johnson-Rebel, who is kind of buried on the depth chart a bit, and Texas continues to recruit past him. I don't know what his prospects would be elsewhere. And I also think he's a guy who probably will see some rotational time next year if he does stay around. But he was a pretty highly touted recruit coming out of high school, and he hasn't really grown into what we expected him to see this year. And so, I wouldn't be shocked to see, I don't think he's going to transfer, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him in.
Yeah, I debated putting him on my list. When we get to my number 4 guy, it was between him and the guy I have at number 4. So yeah, I think that's a really good one. Number 5 for me is Spencer Shannon. I just don't see a way next year where he really gets on the field and plays like he wants to. I think Nick Townsend, honestly, is tied in 1 next year if we don't land anybody, which I expect them to go out and get someone because we have another list to get to talking about guys going to the NFL. Should they stay or should they go? And our tight end right now, Jack Andrews, that's going to be a question. Does he come back? Does he stay at Texas? Because I think if he stays at Texas, that definitely puts Spencer Shannon 100% in the portal. Right now, it looks like Jack Andrews probably will leave, but I'd still say 75-80% Spencer Shannon is gone because Jordan Washington's going to be here, Nick Townsend's going to be here, and then you're probably going to recruit another big tight end. And Emory Winston was playing well before he got injured, so he could be tied in 4 on the depth chart. I just don't think there's room for him here at Texas, so I expect him to hit the portal.
Yeah, I've actually got him at number 4 on my list. So we're
okay, sweet.
He was the first one of the first ones I added to my list, and then I kind of moved him down a bit as I added other folks atop of him. But yeah, he was a name that jumped off the page, and through no fault, like he got recruited past. He doesn't really have the physical profile that Sark likes at that position. He's a big body, and I think Texas fans wanted him, and Sark and that coaching staff, Jeff Banks, wanted him to grow into more of that kind of dual threat-y kind of tight end, and it just hasn't come to fruition.
100%. We kind of try to make Jordan Washington that, and I honestly think he gained a little bit too much weight. I think we should drop him down 10 to 15 pounds. And then Spencer Shannon isn't good enough at either of those things. Like, he's not a good enough pass catcher, and he's not a good enough blocker for his size. So I just think at this point, if he does transfer, I think someone's either going to tell him, hey, you just need to gain a lot of weight and be a blocking tight end, because I think that's kind of his future if he has any chance of making it to the NFL. So I agree with you. Number 4 is Warren Roberson for me. This is a guy that honestly just commits way too many penalties. I like his upside. I like his physical traits, but way too many penalties. I mean, he was getting, like, at the end of the season, a penalty a game, whether that was special teams or at the quarterback position. You cannot be doing that. I think he's going to get passed up by some guys coming in. He's already passed up by guys on the roster. I just don't think there's really enough room for him on the roster. If he comes back next year, he's probably cornerback number 5 or 6 at this point. So I think he's gone. And I honestly just don't see a lot of upside either with him. I think he's an okay player. I think he'll probably have to transfer down to a lower level. So I think he's going to leave Texas.
I'm going to pause on my conversation on him because he's also on my list, but he's higher up on my list.
Okay.
So I will pause on that. I guess we're at 3 now. 3. My 2 and 3 are tied together in some ways. I've got Zena and Neto Umazulu as my 3 and 2, and I think maybe Zena does stay, but Zena's also gotten passed on the depth chart. Lance Jackson came in and jumped ahead of him on that edge depth chart. And then Neto just hasn't. He hasn't seen the field. He hasn't really grown into it. He's been struggling in that role. He's gotten passed up on the depth charts. I think both of those brothers may end up transferring out and maybe transferring together somewhere. And again, they got the hard part about having this conversation is that like I wanted these guys to be great, and I think they could still be good at Texas, but part of the process is the moment you sign, they're already recruiting your replacement. And so, both of those guys did not move up the depth chart, and the guys that came in jumped them. And so those are my 3 and my 2 together, kind of holding hands.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I have him up, one of them up a little bit higher on the list. Number 3 for me is DeAndre Moore. Coming into the season, Gerald, we had the discussion like who's wide receiver 1? Is it DeAndre Moore or Ryan Wingo? At the end of the year, DeAndre Moore is wide receiver 4 on this team, and I don't think there's really a debate about that. Like next year, you put Ryan Wingo above him. You definitely would put Parker Livingston with the upside he showed early in the year above him, and then Emmett Mosley was our most consistent wide receiver when he was healthy. So I just don't think there's enough room here. It's been said too that like he's a mercenary, so he's going to want the most money. Guys, he's not getting a pay increase. If he's staying at Texas, he's probably going to take 20 to 30% less than he was making this year, and that's to be kind. And you forget too, like we have Khalil Lockett, Jamie French, and Dalen McCutcheon. I just don't see a world where he stays at Texas. I don't think he should. I think the question is, does he go to the NFL or does he, transfer? In the NFL, we'll have the discussion about Trey Wisner too, because he's on my list along with another running back on the team of like, does it make sense for him to transfer or join the NFL? Because I think at this point, DeAndre Moore is probably about a fifth or sixth round pick in the NFL draft. And then he's going to have to make his way. I think his upside to me, I was thinking about this, like who does he remind me of? I think at the best he could do in the NFL is Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk's had a nice career in the NFL. I think that's kind of the mold I see him in. So we'll see what he decides to do, but he's my number 3.
Yeah, I waffled about putting him on my list. I think he would probably be number 6 on my list if I had it. I really thought he was going to carve out a niche for himself as that, like, kind of, I think like the Jordan Whittington role where you're the third down underneath slot guy. And I really thought and hoped that would be the role that he carved out. And, he and Art showed a lot of chemistry last year, but it just still hasn't come to fruition. And again, you mentioned the guys that are already on campus. Jermaine Bishop is coming, and Jermaine Bishop is going to demand reps. There are the DeSoto head coach who's seen 30, 40 years of Texas high school football, called Jermaine Bishop the best high school football player he's ever seen. Like Jermaine Bishop is going to demand reps, and I don't think they'll be on defense. Like the guy is just a stupid offensive weapon. So like there's probably at least a wide receiver, if not multiple, that are going to see the portal in spite of me not having any on my list.
Who's your number 2?
So my number 2 is Neto. So I had Zena and Neto 2 and 3. So those are my next 2 on the list. Give me your 2 and then I'll hit my 1.
Yeah, that works. So Neto is number 2 on my list. I didn't put Zena because when Zena's on the field, he plays well. The problem is with Neto, we really haven't seen him on the field. That's the biggest gaslighting I think we've had by the staff, guys. Like a week before the Ohio State game, we were told this was the starting left guard. And then when our starting left guard was Connor Stroh when he got benched, guess who they went to? They went to Nick Brooks. They didn't go to Neto. So they literally just flat out lied. He was never the starting left guard. He was always third at best. So I don't know what happened there. He was a high 4-star recruit, and he just hasn't panned out clearly. Now, do I 100% know it's his fault? No, because guess what? They never got the combination of offensive line right till the last, 4 or 5 weeks of the season. So he could actually be better than Nick Brooks and Connor Stroh and, for whatever reason, not get the playing time. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting when he does transfer. Zena, if he does transfer, will get playing time. He is he's a good football player. He's a very good football player. If he goes to a Big 12 school, he's going to be a starter there. If he goes to a lower level, mid-tier ACC school, he's going to be a starter there. He's a good football player. Neto, I don't even know. I don't know what he is. So it's going to be interesting to see where he transfers, what he looks like.
Yeah, and I think part of Neto's problem, and I say problem loosely because there are schools that he'll probably go and be a contributor at, is like he's kind of an in-between body type. He's not really fully a tackle. He might be a little too bulky to be a guard. It's like, it's just one of those weird kind of in-between spots where he's those hybrid guys are hard. Either they really blow up at one spot or they kind of don't fit at either. And I think right now it's looking like the latter for him.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. So number 1 for me, I kind of did what you did with the brothers, but I just sliced it up. Ricky Stewart or Trey Wisner. I think one of these guys is going to transfer. I don't know which one. It also depends on if Trey Wisner goes to the NFL draft, and I think Ricky Stewart may be more inclined to stay. But this is Derek Cooper is going to be in here. Christian Clark and James Simon, they're probably going to try to convince both of them to stay, especially James Simon, because his upside is pretty high. And then Ricky Stewart's going to have to look and be like, do I want to sit here and, possibly get passed up by a freshman? And then they're probably going to bring in a guy that, plays for 1 year and is the starter. And especially if Trey Wisner comes back, I definitely think Ricky Stewart's gone. But I still think there's a pretty good chance, even if Trey Wisner leaves, that Ricky Stewart's gone. So I have both of them at my number 1 spot.
Yeah, I think they'll probably, with Baxter out, with Gibson already gone, I don't. Some of these transfers are not the player's choice, and so I think if it happens for Stewart to leave, I do think it would probably be his choice and not the team's choice, because they do need bodies in that room, and so Texas might just do a little bit to keep him, because if Wisner goes and Ricky Stewart goes, Texas is down to like 3 guys in that running back room, and it is not a good situation. My number 1. And I led this up. Some of these transfer choices are the player's choice. Some of them are the coach's choice. And Warren Roberson, I think, is not going to be offered a spot back on the roster. Like, it's just one of the and again, no shade at the kid. Like, it's obviously, but like the way he has played, the number of times we said Warren Roberson's name with a sigh after it, like that is just somebody that, frankly, and it sucks that this is part of the game, but like there are guys that coaches will say, hey, there's not a spot for you, right? We're not going to. And the rosters are getting bigger, right? So there is, less of an option to say that, but ultimately, like there are, we think about a couple of years ago when Texas played Arizona State, there were a bunch of Texas players on that Arizona State team. And some of them were told that, hey, if you come back next year, you're not going to play. Right. And they took that. That was, Bo Davis saying that to some defensive linemen, which it was very true in that moment. But like, there are guys that are going to be told like, hey, if you come back, your playing time is going to be limited. And I wonder, and I wouldn't be surprised if Warren Roberson is one of those guys. Like the number of unnecessary penalties he's drawn, and like the upside downside is just not there. There are guys that like, Ryan Wingo, sometimes you have to pay the Wingo tax. Like he's going to have these miraculous catches. He'll also have one drop that's going to make you slap your forehead. Warren Roberson doesn't have those things to make the tax worth it.
Yeah, I think the cornerback position, the only guy that I can think of is Trayvon Diggs, where he gets beat a lot, but he gets a lot of interceptions for pick six. You're willing to live with that. Warren Roberson, no offense to him, is just all penalties. Like he's done really, I can't think of a play this year where I'm like, damn, that was a really good play by Warren Roberson. He's prevented really good plays on special teams. There's a couple returns that went for 20, 30, 40 yards that he got holding calls for. And Jeff Banks on the sideline, I think it was the Georgia game when we had that one big return, was like, you just did it again. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. I'm like, why are you doing this again? And if your special teams coach is saying that to you, I think the writing is on the wall that you probably aren't going to be here much longer. Another name that we didn't have on this list, but I think he does still have a year of eligibility, is Jalen Gilbo. I don't think he's coming back either, guys. I'm pretty sure he's gone, whether that's the NFL and he converts to safety or he's going to have to transfer somewhere. But yeah, those are the two guys to me in the secondary room that I agree. They're going to be sat down and said, we just don't have space for you here.
Yeah. And I think Texas is going to go heavy in the portal and the secondary. I think it's probably one of their biggest priority areas. So ultimately, I just don't think there's going to be a spot for him.
I completely agree. And again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Let us know who you think can transfer from Texas this year. Obviously, we lost Jared Gibson. We lost Will Stone. We lost C.J. Baxter and Trey Owen so far. We'll see. I'm guessing in this next week, you're going to have a couple more, and then it will a lot more before the Michigan game. Once Texas and Michigan play, I don't think you're going to see them anymore.
I think if they're here for the bowl game, I don't think they'll be going elsewhere, because like enrollment deadlines are pretty close to New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's true. Let's move over to top targets in the portal. So obviously a lot of smoke coming out about certain players in the portal who, Texas fans want. So we might as well kick it off. So I have the four, I think, or the top three for me, I think are possible. The bottom two are kind of like wish list, because I don't really see Texas paying this type of money, and I'll kick it off. Number 5 for me is Cam Coleman. But I just don't see Texas paying the amount of money, because this guy's going to command $2 to $3, maybe even $4 million for 1 year in the portal. And I just don't see them paying that. Now, do I wish they would? Yeah, because in my opinion, this is the second best wide receiver in college football. I think it's Jeremiah Smith and Cam Coleman. The problem is he has had no one to throw him the football. He's a super talented guy. And I think right now, if he goes out, he's probably going to be a second round pick, because he hasn't had enough production, unfortunately. But Hopefully, if he is in there, I hope Texas does pursue aggressively. I hope they don't make the same mistake of, relying on Ryan Wingo as your number one. But it is what it is. I have him at number 5 because I don't think it's super realistic right now.
Yeah, that's also where I have him on my list. And I as I was putting my list together, I wonder if like I don't know the ins and outs of NIL deals and the contracts these guys play, but like I wonder if there is a world where a guy like Cam Coleman takes a little bit of a discount on it because like, hey, you're going to be wide receiver 1 and we're going to throw a ton of deep balls to you, right? Like if you need tape, we're going to get you tape. Like, so that's part of the equation for some of these guys is like, hey, if I want to get ready for it's why guys like Adonai Mitchell came to Texas, right? Because he needed 1 year of really good tape and it put him in the first round of the NFL draft, right? So like those are the types of things that a guy like Cam Coleman, who's got all the measurables but needs the tape, the Texas offense is going to get you tape. So yeah, I've also got him at 5.
Number 4 for me, Kawan Lacey at Ole Miss. I didn't know this. He's from Dallas, Texas. I really want this guy if we could get him. Again, Ole Miss, I mean, they're committed, guys. They were willing to pay whatever it took to keep Lane Kiffin. He just didn't want to be there. He wanted to go to LSU because he thought that had higher upside. I mean, that's a good decision in my opinion, but it's going to be hard to get someone like this away. 258 carries, 1,279 yards, and 20 touchdowns on a playoff team. He's going to command a lot of money, but he's a very good back. Try to get him home. Also, try to get him back to an offensive coach that runs a similar system to Lane Kiffin, whereas now you're with the defensive coach and Pete Golding. So I think there's some talking points there that you might be able to convince him to come to Texas, but it is going to be a tall task, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've got Lacey farther up on the list, so we'll pause that. My number 4, and this one is also number 4 because I don't think it's happening. But if Harold Perkins wants to come back for another year and maybe get some extra tape or get some, have an opportunity to like, hey, can you come in and play 1 year and be a linebacker for us at Texas? Right? He's a guy who's probably like he's going to go to the combine and test like a freak, but ultimately like his tape is up and down. Like it's been up and down because I think LSU never really knew how to deploy him, and I wonder if that's something that Pete Kwiatkowski and this coaching staff can sell him on. Hey, come here. You almost did once, right? Come here, hang out for a year, get some good tape, right? We'll let you we'll let you be a multiple kind of guy, and put some good tape out there, because I think the big knock on Harold Perkins is going to be his tape on the field. It's just been so up and down. Like he had a great freshman year, sophomore year was terrible, and then this year was good. He played really great in pass coverage, but like ultimately he was on a bad team, and so it makes him look worse by measure. And so again, if Texas can put a good number out there, I wonder if he would come to Austin for a year.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting because right now I don't think his draft stock is too high. He's kind of like a positionless player, and teams have kind of soured on those guys because we saw Isaiah Simmons was this guy. He was like the number one example of that, and he's kind of flamed out in the NFL, even though he's a freak of an athlete. So he's not like this guy's more of an athlete right now than a football player. So he needs to get more technically sound, and that would be awesome if we could get him here, have Johnny Nance and Pete Kwiatkowski teach him up a little bit, and he could be a really good football player for us. So I don't hate that one at all. Number 3 for me is a guy that as soon as I saw him, I'm like, why can't Texas ever get someone like this? Trades Green at LSU, the tight end. 6'7" basketball player that, hey, one-on-one in the red zone, just go there every time. Throw up a fade, let him go get it, and he's phenomenal at doing it. 24 receptions, 353 yards, 5 touchdowns in a barely used role at LSU. Texas has not had a freak like this at the tight end position ever. Georgia has had a couple. They have one right now that Elias Williams or Elias Robinson, I forget his name is, at the tight end position. He's also like 6'5", 6'6". So to have someone like this where we kind of struggle in the red zone, that's just a mismatch nightmare because you can't guard them with anyone. Like linebackers are way too slow. Cornerbacks and safeties are way too little. I want someone like this on our roster. It's going to be hard to pull him away now, especially because Lane Kiffin's definitely going to use the guy and use him a lot probably. Yeah. But I would love to get someone like Trades Green on this roster.
Yeah, and I didn't prioritize tight ends because I think Texas, if they stand pat at tight end, is probably fine. But yeah, I mean, that guy's a weapon, and I think Sark loves a weapon at tight end. We saw what Gunnar Helm was able to do in this offense. And so if Sark does have that option, heck yeah. So my number 3 guy, this is my more realistic wide receiver from the schools that we're targeting here, Vernell Brown from Florida. I think he's a guy who, he's not super established at Florida, but he's really talented. And he kind of fits that profile that Steve Sarkisian really likes. Did some good things for Florida this year. And I really think he's a guy who could come in and, be a I'm fine with a 1-year rental, but I really would love a guy who can come in and really help kind of stabilize for a couple of years and then move on to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have him for a couple years, and you'd also have Emmett Mosley with him and probably Parker Livingston. So that'd be a nice little trio to have. He's up a little bit higher on my list. Number 2 for me is Jaden Ball. Ever since we played him, can't stop thinking about him. I want him. I think he'd be phenomenal back in the Steve Sarkisian system. 1,107 yards, 8 touchdowns, 5.3 yards per carry. Big bruiser back. He never gets taken down by the first guy. Super talented. Been pretty durable as well. So I would love to get him. He is from Georgia, so that's going to be interesting because if he does go, I mean, Georgia's got a pretty solid pitch. Come home and get drafted from this machine that we got running. So it's going to be hard to get him, but I would love to have him if we could get him.
Yeah, Ball's my number 1 on my list. So, like, spoiler alert for mine. Lacey is 2 and Ball is 1. Like, I need Texas to get a running back in this portal class. Now that Baxter's gone, now that we saw the transfers earlier in the season, Texas needs a premier back. And so, whether it's Jaden Ball, who I had number 1 because I think he would really thrive in this kind of the zone scheme that Sark wants to run, is what Jaden Ball I think is made for, because you find a crease, you put that big body in there, and you just run forward for as much as you can. And Lacey's just a dude, right? So either one of those guys, those are my 2 and 1. I would take either of them because I do want Texas to add a running back in this cycle for sure.
I completely agree. And number 1 for me is kind of a slash again. It's Dallas Wilson or Vernell Brown. I just need one of them. Give me one of them. I think this is the most realistic possibility, especially the coach you just got with John Summerall. No offense to him, but he's not a marquee name. He's not someone that's going to draw in these guys. And I just need one of these guys. I actually do prefer Vernell Brown like you, because Dallas Wilson has had some health issues this year. And again, if he has health issues next year, then you're basically paid for a guy to sit on the bench and take up a spot, where Vernell Brown was healthy the whole year. He had 40 receptions, 512 yards. He's a good football player. He was a guy that, had been playing really well right away for Florida. And he's going to have much better quarterback play, much better offensive play calling. He'll have better players around him. I think he can go off in the Steve Sarkisian system.
Yeah, I mean, I had him on my list for a reason. He jumped off the page at me when I was like before Wilson. I didn't have Wilson on my list, right? I don't know if Wilson leaves Florida, and again, I think he still has some health issues, and I'm tired of offensive players with lingering health issues hampering the offense. But either one of those guys, again, my preference is probably Brown, but Wilson would be great too.
Are there any other names? Because I actually have a guy on this list I crossed off. Do you have any other names like that were like right on the cusp of your list?
Not a ton. I was scouring for offensive linemen, and I couldn't find any from these schools that I was like, Texas needs to add multiple offensive linemen, but I don't think, for like pulling the curtain back, like we kind of focused on LSU, Florida, Arkansas, Ole Miss, and they didn't really have any offensive linemen that would either have any eligibility left or that I think would step in and be a day 1 starter, have them level this offense up.
No, 100%. I asked him to come up with the SEC portal targets. That's what I did as well. And yeah, I look at Arkansas. All their guys are older. There's really no one from Texas. Florida, same thing. Like their best offensive linemen's going to the NFL draft. LSU, no offense, I don't want any of their offensive linemen because they had a worse offensive line than ours. So I don't want to take anyone from there. And then Ole Miss, kind of the same thing, older, and they're also in the playoffs, so you kind of have to wait to recruit them anyway. So, yeah, I didn't really see anyone from Arkansas, LSU, Ole Miss that I wanted. I honestly think you're going to have to go at a lower level. There's a bunch of guys in there right now, and maybe we'll talk about them next week because I think they can come here and play for Texas. We've seen guys from lower-level schools come and play at the bigger schools at offensive line, defensive line, and they've done pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, Calvin Anderson is like case in point. Guy came from Rice, played a year, was a great tackle for Texas, and played a couple years in the NFL because of it.
100%. Yeah, he played with my Broncos for a couple years and did perfectly fine. And I think he still might be in the NFL. I'm pretty sure he did get a decent contract. He got a decent enough contract to where, hey, if he did, retire, he would have been set for life if he used it smartly. Yeah. So he was, really good point.
He hung around for a minute for sure.
Let's move over. Well, but first, please hit the like button. Please subscribe down below. And let's go to this. So who goes and who stays? I'm going to ask Gerald, 5-6 guys, and I'm going to get his opinion on should they go to the NFL? Should they not go to the NFL, and why? Let's start out with number 5. To me, Hero Kanu. Do you believe Hero Kanu should go to the NFL? Why or why not?
I think I would say probably come back. I think he's a guy who I don't know, 10 years ago when defensive tackles were valued more highly in the NFL, I'd say jump away. I talked to some guys so NFL draft guys that I know. That's the only link I have. And there are guys like him who, again, when in 2005, when defensive tackles went as a run heavy league, a guy like Hero Kanu is a top 2-round kind of pick. But I just don't think the market is going to be there for him. And so if he can come back to Texas and make a decent dime, and then potentially even again, he's probably going to be, I don't see his draft stock going much higher than 4th or 5th round, just based on what he is and the positional value. And so, I think he can come back, make a decent money, and then still land in that same spot next year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I think that's the question you have to ask yourself, because I completely agree. I think he's pretty much tapped out on where he's going to go. I think he's a 4th to maybe 6th round pick, somewhere in between there. He might be able to bump up around based on next year, but his question has to be, if I come back and get hurt, then what happens? So if you think you've maxed out your potential of your draft stock, I think you should just go. Now, do I want him back? Yeah, that I want him back because I think he'd be a good rotational player next year. But you have guys on the bench that have popped late in the season, like Justice Terry, who every time he played in the last 2 to 3 weeks was popping off the tape. I mean, he caused the interception to basically end the game with Texas A&M, where Michael Taft made the interception. So I would be fine if he came back. I would be fine if he didn't. I honestly don't know. It's up to him. I like him. I think he's a good player. He came here and did a lot more than I was expecting. So I think he should probably go. But again, this is an iffy one.
Yeah, again, I think you can argue this one either way. I think the big question is do you think you can make, I don't know, $300,000 at Texas next year, and what's your rookie contract going to be, right? Because this is a guy who's probably not a 2-contract guy in the NFL. So how do you maximize your dollars? That's really the question he has to ask himself.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Next up, I have Jack Endries written down. Do you think he should go, or do you think he should stay?
I think he should stay. Again, I think probably he's a guy who could benefit from more tape. That's why he came to Texas. He didn't put a whole lot on tape. He had a good game at the end of the year, but he really was absent for maybe 10 of the 12 games. Showed up at Ohio State, showed up at A&M, not a whole lot in between. He came to Texas to improve his draft stock, and I don't think he did that. And I think he could, right? And I think the offense is finally figuring out how to use him. I think Sark has kind of figured out what the scheme is going to work for this combination of talent. And so I think if Endries comes back next year, he's going to be a legitimate option for Arch Manning, because Arch Manning has finally, I think, figured himself out, figured out the offense. And I think, we've seen what tight ends can do in this unit. And that gives, again, I think he should come back. I'll just leave it there.
I agree. I don't think again, with the Hero Kanu thing, I think he has a lot more to unlock. Like, coming into this year, he's rated as the 2nd best tight end. I think Matt Miller, who, again, he is a Texas fan, so I think he does use a little bit of homerism there, had him ranked as like the 4th best tight end. Now, this is a really weak tight end class, and that should also go in the decision as well, because, I mean, again, you could have a much better year next year, but if the tight end class is better, then it could all break even. It wouldn't matter anyways. You kind of just wasted your time at Texas. Now, if they give him, like you said, rookie contract based on what you're making next year, because he can be, in my opinion, a 2-contract guy. I think he's a guy that could stick around in the NFL long enough, because I just think we misused him. I really do. Like, if you watch him at Cal, they used him sit down, catch the ball, and then run after. We wanted him to route up people. That's not his game, and it took us way too long to figure that out. I think that we know that. We saw in that A&M game, it wasn't that. It was, hey, you run over the middle, you sit down where you find the hole in the zone, and then you catch it and you freaking take off. And he was really good at that. I think there's a real possibility he could come back. Right now, the signs do point 75% gone, 25% staying, but it is what it is. It's going to be interesting. I do think he should come back, though. I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, we went into the year knowing that this was a 1-year rental, and so any other value Texas gets out of this is just found money at this point.
Agreed. Next up, Jelani McDonald. This one is probably the most, I would say, 50-50 impactful one at this point that I've heard. This is like a 50-50 decision coin flip, but it's impactful, guys, because we're already losing Michael Taft. This would be losing both your starting safeties and having to rely on younger guys, or going out and getting an experienced safety, which you can get. That is something in the portal you can get actually kind of easily. I mean, Oregon got an all Big Ten guy last year from Purdue. You can go out and get those guys, but I would love to have Jelani McDonald because he brings a physical presence. Do you think he should go, or do you think he should stay?
Yeah, I this is one where I don't know how much him staying really does benefit him, right? Like selfishly, I want him back in burnt orange, but I don't know if staying in at Texas is going to change his perception, going to change like what he's got on film. I think he's kind of who he is at this point. Like I think he's probably pretty well baked. And so I think coming back to Texas doesn't really do much to improve his stock moving forward. Now, if you know if he thinks he can, again, that's a decision he has to make among himself. Obviously, you want to come back, but I just don't see the value for him specifically coming back to Texas because I don't think he's going to get himself past the third or fourth round. And I think that's probably where his value is now at this point, anyways.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think if he tests really well, he could probably be a middle second round pick. If he doesn't, he's probably a middle fourth round pick. That's kind of his range. I think, the only thing I can think of, he's got to get better one-on-one in coverage because in the NFL, you're going to have to do that when they do blitz and leave you on an island. But other than that, he's physical. He's a good tackler for the most part. Takes good angles, again, for the most part. Not all the time, but for the most part. Pretty smart, good with the ball in the air at picking it off, making plays with it when he does get it. So it's really only one thing he needs to work on. And then just obviously get more experience and more tape, but he could look at that and be like, I just do that in the NFL for a little bit more money. Why not just do that? Now, this safety class is kind of the opposite of the tight end class. This is a pretty deep safety class. So maybe if next year's not, he can look at that and say, hey, I can increase my value and I could be, number one, number two, number three safety on the board, whereas this year he's just not. I mean, this is the Caleb Downs year, guys. No one else is going to be the number one safety on this board. It's going to be Caleb Downs, and there isn't going to be any discussion about that. So it's going to be interesting to see what decision he makes. I agree. I'm with you on this. Like, I want him to come back. I think it would definitely help Texas a lot if he does come back, but I don't know if he is going to come back at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the draft class is something that you have to consider. That's something they always consider because, again, like it's Caleb Downs, a big gap, and then everybody else. So I just Texas could make it really, really beneficial for him to come back, especially based on where he likely is in this draft class.
This one, hey, I was on this train early. I think a lot of Texas fans were as well. Like I told Garrison previewing the Ohio State game, Trevor Goosby will be a first-round pick. Right now, a couple mocks have him as a first-round pick. I didn't want it to be after this year. I wanted him for 2 years. But he is – Matt Miller, again, had him as the 15th best prospect, which was wild to me because I haven't seen him that high. It's all like late first, early second. So, Gerald, do you think Trevor Goosby comes back?
Do I think he comes back or do I think he should come back? They're two different questions. I think he's probably gone. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, left tackles they draw quite a bit of attention and draw quite a bit of money. And I don't think even if he's getting second round mocks, like it makes sense for him to go. Like first or second round, you should be vapors at this point. That being said, much like I said about Cam Williams last year, like I would love to see him get another year of tape under his belt because he was good this year, but there were some spots where he struggled with consistency, not anywhere near what we saw with Cam Williams last year. That decision baffling still to this day. But ultimately, like, I think he's probably gone. I would be surprised if he comes back. Love to have him back. But I think he's not going to get himself past, again, I think the spot where he's already at, which is going to be a first or second rounder. And if you get that grade, even if you get a third round grade, a lot of times you probably should just dip.
So I think there's enough there to where if he isn't a first round pick, he should come back because I think next year he'd be like a top 10 pick in the draft. Like I really think he could be in that Kelvin Banks territory, and that is a whole different world of money. That's $30 million guaranteed type world. So if you're like early second round pick this year, that's a couple million. I think it's like 5 or 6. You can literally go up 5 to 6 times from that if you just improve a little bit. So if that's the case where he's not a first round pick, I think he should come back. But if he's truly the 15th guy, like if that's what Matt Miller's hearing from like half the teams in the league, he should be gone. Sark should literally send me down and be like, you are fit, like top 20 pick. You need to leave. I'm all on board. I agree with what Tom Herman said about that. That's like one of the things I did agree when he said, when they're a first round pick, you slap them on the butt, say, thank you, donate some money when you get the chance. But other than that, we don't need you to play for the University of Texas anymore. Everything after that, I think should be a discussion, especially in the era of NIL. But again, if he's first round pick, don't need to see you at the University of Texas again. You can stay on those sidelines and watch games. You don't need to be playing for us. So I agree with that if he is a first round pick. Again, second round pick, I think he should stay. But it's going to be interesting. I don't know. You'll truly know, guys, in about a month because you'll get, actual more mock drafts out, more data out and stuff like that. I also think you should play the bowl game because you're going up against Derek Moore, who's going to be a top 50 pick in the NFL draft. And that actually, if you're teetering, that could seal the deal of, hey, I am a first round pick. So this is actually a scenario. Yeah, he might be teetering on a first round pick, and the bowl game could actually push him over.
Yeah, that's a very good call out. I think getting that bowl tape. This is one where he's not going to transfer, so we're not going to hear about anything until after the bowl game, I think, with him. Unlike Anthony Hill, who's injured and like not going to come back for the game. We're not going to talk about Anthony Hill, obviously. But like I think Gooseby is a guy who's probably going to play in the bowl game, and then make a call from there and see where things shake out.
Now, this one I left at number 1 because I think it's the most interesting, and I had him on the transfer portal one as well. Trey Wisner. Do you think he should come back or stay or transfer? Like I'll throw that one out there too. What do you think he should do?
I don't. Trey Wisner is such an enigma to me because I don't know if he's an NFL running back. I honestly don't think he is. But I also know that Trey Wisner is better than he was this year, right? Like the 2024 season, he was better than he was this year because I think he was fully healthy. And so I wonder if he comes back, whether it is at Texas or somewhere else, and is fully healthy, does he play his way into an NFL draft? Does he go to a team that has a decent offensive line and he gets healthy and he rushes for 1,000 yards again? Like, he might be able to have a cup of coffee in the league. And so ultimately, I'd love to have him back at Texas because Texas should improve along the offensive line. And we've seen how good he can be behind a good offensive line. We saw it a year ago. Texas had a good offensive line. He was a 1,000-yard rusher. Texas had a bad offensive line this year, and he was a 500-yard rusher. So should he – I don't think he should go pro because I don't know if he's going to hear his name called or even be a high-priority free agent for people. As far as transfer or not, I think Texas is probably going to do a lot to try to keep him just because they know him. They're familiar with him. They know the ceiling he can hit when he has the right level of support, and that's what Texas needs.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, like, that's the thing. If he's hit his ceiling, then he should go because there's not a lot of tread on tires and, like, for running backs, guys. Like, you have so many carries in your body. So if he's like a same area Jaden Blue got drafted, I think he should just go to the NFL because I really don't see how much more money he could make coming back to college, especially if he's like, what's the point of transferring, going somewhere and not elevating your draft stock, probably getting paid less money? Just go to the NFL at that point. So I think personally he should either stay at Texas and just be like the third down back or just go to the NFL.
I just don't. I don't know. I have not seen. I didn't do a ton of research on his draft stock, but like I just don't see him as an NFL guy. Like what about his game says NFL running back? There's just not. And again, I'm not trying to dump on the kid because I've said it before on this channel, and I'll say it again. Trey Wisner should never have to buy a drink in Austin again. He should never. He is a legend for what he did for this team. He was recruited to be the second guy in a class with Reuben Owens, and then came in and was a 1,000-yard rusher in a year where Texas was a mash unit at the running back room. He rushed for an average of like 7 yards per carry in the 4 biggest rivalry games in the last 2 years. Like Trey Wisner is one of those dudes that when you're like naming random dudes in 10 years, the ball knows like, oh yeah, I love Trey Wisner, but I just don't know if he's an NFL back. So like, come back and beat the crap out of A&M and OU one more time.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And it's going to be very interesting because we obviously don't know the communication behind the scenes. You know, Texas may tell him what I think they kind of told Jaden Blue, which is we don't really need you anymore. And Jaden Blue decided, hey, I'd rather just go to the NFL than hit the portal because I can make just as much money in the NFL than hitting the portal, especially the way he tests. So it's going to be very interesting. And that's the thing too, Trey Wisner's not going to test that well. Trey Wisner's not Jaden Blue speed-wise. So I agree. It's going to be very interesting. That's why I left it 1 because I think that's a super interesting discussion to have about Trey Wisner.
Yeah, it's so hard to have this conversation without sounding like a hater because I'm not a Trey Wisner hater at all. I love the Shag. I love him like he hates our rivals. I like Trey Wisner. You will have a forever place in my heart, but he's just not. He's not. I don't think he's an NFL guy. It's like come back, rush for 125 yards against OU again, rush for 5 touchdowns against A&M again, go out on senior night as a legend, will carry off the freaking field.
I agree. Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Let us know if you think some of these guys should stay, go. Add some other names to the list. Who do you think should stay or go? Because there probably are a couple, but these are the main 5 on the roster. So we really appreciate that. And then we might as well do this. Let's do an early look ahead to the Citrus Bowl with Michigan. we were talking, 2-3 weeks ago, if we didn't make the playoffs, behind the scenes of who we would like to play. I think the two names thrown out there were USC and Michigan. We got Michigan, and I'm actually pretty excited for this bowl game because we're not going to see a lot of opt-outs on either side, guys. This is going to be pretty fully loaded on both sides of the football. Michigan is the youngest team in the Big Ten. They're the youngest team in the Big Ten, so they're going to have a lot of guys for this game, and I'm excited to watch it, honestly.
Yeah, I was a lot more excited about this game before we got confirmation that Anthony Hill probably wasn't going to be playing in the game because Michigan is a team that's going to run the ball and pound, but they got two rushers that are knocking on 1,000 yards. But I think when you think about what like makes college football cool and why I have such disdain for this anti-tough out-of-conference conversation, it's games like this. It's helmet games. Like there are no, like these are two of the most iconic helmets, two of the most iconic teams, storied teams in college football history. And so getting them to square off, in a primetime spot, a New Year's Eve night game, like it's going to be super fun. Beating Sharon Moore, who's an OU grad, will also be great for my spirits on New Year's Eve. So like, there's a lot to like about this.
Yeah. Let's see. This is another discussion that I think we should have too. So what would you have done? How angry would you have been if Texas took the Notre Dame route and decided not to play any bowl game?
I would be so mad. Like it is ridiculous. Like I can rant about Notre Dame because I'm super pissed about that. But like,
do it.
Like it's just, this is the spoiled rich kid on the playground who wants to keep changing the rules of the game. And then when you tell him no, he leaves. Like that is ultimately what Notre Dame is doing. I'm not getting my way. I want all of the financial benefits of not being in a conference while also having the benefits of being in a conference. Right. But then when I don't get what I want, I'm just gonna call it quits. Like, what? Like, it is absolutely ridiculous. It is the height of entitlement. It is the height of everything that people hate about the Notre Dame mythos. And like, again, just tell everybody you don't want to compete. Just tell them that you're pissy and you don't want to compete. You don't want to play a real conference schedule. You want to play one marquee game at the beginning of the year and then hope everybody forgets about you for 11 weeks. Like, just go home and just it's so ridiculous. Like it's an affront to everything that sports is all about. Like I'm so mad about this. It's dumb.
Yeah, and there's so many layers to this because then it comes out to where they signed a deal to where if this happens next year, they're guaranteed a playoff spot because if they're in the top 12, they have to make the playoff. Why are they the only ones in college football that get to sign deals like this for this stuff to happen? That makes absolutely no sense to me because they already get every benefit that there is that no one else gets.
We keep giving them concessions to like it's this is going to be a terrible metaphor and a gendered metaphor, but it like we've all had a dating relationship where we let somebody get away with a lot because they were way out of our league, right? Like, but Notre Dame isn't that far out of everybody's league. Right? Like, when was the last time Notre Dame won a national championship? Right? They've been in the playoffs, but like they get beat regularly. Like they're not so far. Like college football, Notre Dame needs college football more than college football needs Notre Dame. Like they're not so far out of your league that you have to keep giving them concessions. Right? It's not. And again, this is not me being bitter because Texas isn't in it either. Like it's just that is so freaking ridiculous. And what about the guys who like aren't going to play, like the seniors on this team, like their last opportunity to play, they're not going to get to play in a bowl game because you're throwing a hissy fit? Like that is, again, antithetical to everything sports is about. It is so ridiculous. It's anti-competitive. And I'm not normally the guy to say those kinds of things. I'm not like this old school fuddy-duddy kind of guy, but like, it's just ridiculous.
Well, and you didn't listen, I agree. James Madison's lame. Shouldn't be in the playoff. Completely agree with that. But that's the way the rules are written. That's the way the cookie crumbles. And you lost to Miami. Like, did you not expect Miami to get in over you? Yes. Was the committee dumb and probably drubbed up all this conversation going into it to get more people to watch? Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it is a TV show. But they beat you on the field. They deserve to get in over you. Even though I said, I've been saying for about a month and a half now, I think the three best teams in college football, just based on my eyes, are Ohio State, Georgia, and Notre Dame. Now, Indiana may have proved me wrong and jumped themselves up into that discussion, but Notre Dame looks really good. But the problem is you lost to Miami. Don't lose to Miami and you would be in. Join a conference, you would be in. And they don't get that benefit of the doubt of the, doing all these rules, like you said, because if you look at TV ratings, guys, they're not like the top 5 or 6. They haven't been. So why do they get all this like love and praise, and they get their own network? They get to write their own rules when they're not even, if they were the number one TV product of college football, then I'd be like, man, that's kind of hard to argue. They're not even close. Tennessee gets more average weekly viewers than Notre Dame, but their praises is like this big brand, So yeah, I completely agree with you. It's a joke. But back on the Texas versus Michigan thing, like, offensively, guys, there's not going to be many opt-outs here. Like, it's going to be obviously CJ Baxter, maybe Trey Wisner. I'm trying to think who else. I think Trevor Goosby plays in this game, so I don't think he's on there. So it's really those two guys on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, it's going to be Anthony Hill and possibly Malik Muhammad. So I mean, this is going to be full go, and I think Texas is going to win this football game, and I think we're going to win it by 10-plus points. I do think we're a much better team than Michigan. I think Bryce Underwood is too young. If you've watched this year, he's way too inconsistent. We have to stop the run, because if Justice Haynes plays in this game, that guy is a dog. He probably was going to be the Doak Walker Award winner if he didn't get hurt. It would be him and Jordan Marshall, and even if it's not, Jordan Marshall is a really good running back as well. So we have to stop the run in this football game when this game is played.
Yeah, I mean, what Michigan does well on offense is what Texas does well on defense. So I think that matchup favors Texas. I also think, but like, Michigan is going to get after the quarterback. This is going to be one of the better fronts Texas has played all year. So like, this is a game where if you don't like defense, don't show up, because I think it's going to be a really fun defensive game. And that's the kind of stuff I like.
Yeah, I agree. And it should be pretty decent weather. I mean, the only chance would be rain, obviously, being played in Florida, but it's going to be nice for those guys, especially in Michigan, to get away from the cold, go down there. And I think it's going to be fun. These matchups are happening more often, but they're still special for me, because I think Michigan and Texas have only played each other, 4 times in the history of college football. Ohio State, we played 5 times, and I know we're going to play them again next year, and we'll play Michigan in 2027. But it's really cool to watch these matchups, and I'm excited to play Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, this is the stuff that makes college football cool and special. Like seeing that that blue and that the maize and blue helmet and the burnt orange and white helmet, it's just beautiful, man. It's what it's all about.
Do you have any feel of the spread? It's 4.5 right now. Texas is favored by right now. Would you take Texas?
I would. I think I don't think it's gonna be a high score. Take the under, whatever that is. But I think Texas probably wins by a touchdown. I think it's going to be Texas is going to probably try to score quickly over the top, while Michigan is going to play a pretty slow game and try to keep Texas off the board. But I think Texas probably can pop a couple explosives and win by a touchdown.
No, I think that's fair. Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Do you think Texas should have played in this bowl game? 1, 2, do you think they will win this bowl game? We really appreciate you guys joining us. Again, please hit that like button, subscribe down below. This has been the 81st edition of Texas Longhorns Live. We really appreciate you guys showing up. If you want to give each of us a follow, that is Gerald's X, Blue Sky, as well as his Longhorn Pod on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you want to find your podcast, you can find his right there. And then this is my X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it right there. Please give me a follow. And again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. We are here every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time live, 7 p.m. Central. We really appreciate it. And as always, hook 'em.
Hook 'em.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.